All right, let's start these oil pastel techniques that we're going to practice. Remember, we set up our diagram previously with pencil and labeled it. Remember, we're going to do outlining with hard edges. We're going to work from that one then to the solid color. Then we're going to learn how to blend two colors to make a gradual change from one color to another. Where they meet up, they make a third color. Then we'll practice how to put down two colors with one on top of it, called overlaying, where with hard edges that separate the two colors in three different places, and I'll explain that. And we'll also scratch away where the darker color is on top of the lighter color for some sgraffito to practice that technique. So that's what this sheet is going to be for. You're going to be using your oil pastels for this, remember. Keep your pastels in the tray unless you're currently using them and working with them. If you've got a rounded edge to your pastels that you want to use, one of the things that you can do is always have paper on it if you can to hold it so your fingers stay a little cleaner. And then just drag your pastel stick across a piece of paper towel or another piece of scratch paper or something. I like using paper towel because it's easier and neater and cleaner. And then you can create a nice hard edge if you just drag it across there several times at a 90-degree angle to the surface that you're dragging it across. It'll create a 90-degree angle from the blunt end of this pastel stick to the side edge of the pastel stick. So if you look, there's a nice edge there now that I can draw a straight line with. I like to have extra paper towel to protect my work and paper towel to clean my work and to keep my fingers clean. Okay, so you should do that too. With your work, always have it set up so that you can see what you're doing. I'm going to drag my pastel stick toward myself. My body is over here. I'm going to drag it toward myself so I can see where my pastels are going. Don't press hard with your pastels because it spreads out if you press hard. So you just want to drag it along there so it goes onto the paper and as neatly and easily as possible. I'm going to zoom in so you can watch as I do it. We're going to do the outlining technique first. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit more here. All right, looks like that's as close as I'm going to get this guy. All right. Yeah, that's as close as we're getting for some reason. All right, so I'm using green. I want you to use any color for this except for don't use white because our paper is white. We won't be able to see it. I recommend please don't use the yellow because I won't be able to see your work, especially for the practice. So use one of the darker colors. Use the green, orange, even the pink. This light pink here is hard to see too, so don't use it. Don't use the white. Don't use that pink. Don't use that yellow. Any of the other colors is fine, all right, including black. So you're going to drag the color toward yourself so that you create a hard edge that's nice and thin. Go right up to the pencil outline, start very lightly, and make it as thin and controlled as you can get and as straight as you can get. Remember, don't press hard. There we go. It kind of skipped on me there. Then turn your paper so that you can pull it toward yourself again. We are making an outline that creates a hard edge to it. Notice that it's nice and thin there. And I'm going to start right at the corner, and once again I'm pulling it toward myself, and I want to watch where it's going. I've got my head down low so I can see that it's going in a nice straight line. I'm starting a little bit beyond where I picked it up so that I don't have a skip mark. And stop before you get to the other edge that goes a different direction, and turn your paper again so that you're always going in the direction toward yourself. I'm putting the paper towel underneath my hand so I don't smear my work as I'm dragging it. And I want to always keep it at a 90-degree angle. So I'm going to flatten out my edge again. Just by doing that, made a nice flat edge. I don't want to press too hard, otherwise I waste the pastels. Don't go too fast so you can control it. There we go. If it kind of skipped as you drew it, you can go back in and kind of fill it in. Just be careful not to make it a fat outline. We want it to be as thin as possible. I want to see that you can control it. Okay? my last one, I want to make sure that I have a nice clean edge again. Pull it toward myself to create my outline. All right, so that's outlining with a hard edge. Please don't do anything more with yours. If you need more time, stop the video now. I'm going to go to the next one. Okay? All right, with the next one, we're going to be doing a solid color. I'm going to use the same color that I outlined there. I'm going to do it here. I'm outlining first to create the hard edge of the shape to keep it inside the rectangle. Then I'll fill it in. Okay, so it's the same process. Hard edge again. I'm sorry, outline again. Don't go too fast so you can control where it goes. And now because you know that we're going to fill it in, it doesn't matter if it gets a little fat and wide on the inside of the shape, but we want to keep it a hard edge on the outside of the shape when we make this outline to begin with. Okay, so stay on the pencil outline or just inside of it to create a new outline, just like we did before. Go all the way around it. Whenever you want to make a shape a solid color, you want to start with its outline first. It helps you to control it. It helps you to maintain its outer edges if you do the outlines first. Okay. Now, outline in this case doesn't mean it's going to stay a different color of an outline. I'm going to be using the same color that I'm outlining with, that I'm going to fill it in with. Flatten it out again. Going right to the corner, and I kind of I came inside the shape a little bit right in the center there, so I'm going to bring it back out to the outer edge. And I'm going to show you something. If you look really closely, you can see I've got some shavings on my paper that are outside of my shape. You can use your oil pastel stick and just lightly dab at that shaving and it pulls it back off. You can use that shaving to fill it in on the inside of the shape. There are a couple areas where I still need to go to the outer edges a little bit more evenly. So I cleaned off my oil pastel stick. I got rid of the little shavings that appeared as I was dragging my pastel stick around. So I've got a pretty good hard edge all the way around. Now my next step is don't press hard, and you're going to colorize the inside of the shape, going right up to your outline at the top, right? Don't quite go to the outer edges side to side. If you do, you're going to have less control. So just go kind of close to them, but not quite to them. Don't press hard. If you press hard with the oil pastels, all it does is it picks it back up and you know, doesn't unload it, it drags it back off. So you want to, don't press hard. And it depends on the kind of paper you're using. In some of the paper that we use, it's got more texture to it and it holds on tighter to it, but it also has high and low areas. Okay, so depending on what paper you're using, you might have to go over it a second time like I am. So I turned my paper now so I can still drag it now side to side so I can see where it's going, like I was doing from top to bottom. Now I'm doing the side edge at the left, and I turned it so it's at the top. And I rotated my stick of pastels. If you take a look at all those shavings on that stick of pastel, right? So that stuff's still usable. I don't want to just throw it in the garbage, right? So I download it inside my shape, and I can drag that unloaded area of pastel shavings. I can drag it around to fill in some of the unoccupied area of my shape. So you don't need to clean your pastel stick off by just wiping it off on a piece of paper towel, right? If you're going to use that color somewhere else, just pick it up, right? Move it somewhere else, and then blend it in or smooth it in. Now I've got a little corner right here that needs to be colored, and I've got a little shaving right there. And I've got a big schmutz of shaving right there. So I'm going to just lift that off. I can't use it anywhere else, so I'm going to clean it off, right? And then I'm going to pick up that little piece of shaving by tapping on it with my oil pastel stick. If I press down, it's going to push it down, but I just tap on it without the pastel stick going too low, and it sucks it up, right? It's like a magnet. It wants to hold on to it because it's so sticky. Okay, so once you've got yours completely filled, make sure that it's nice and even. Don't press hard. You're just kind of smoothing it around so you have a nice solid color application. Next one is a blending of two colors. So if you need more time to finish that, stop the video and I'm going to move on. I'm going to use two colors. I'm going to have a light color and a dark color. I'm going to outline with my lighter color first. I'm going to use this green as my darker color. So I'm going to put it back down, and I'm going to pick up this this orange. Oh yeah, orange and green together are going to be interesting. Two secondary colors. I want to make sure that it's nice and clean. It was in that tray picking up some of the dirt from the other colors. So that's something I should have told you right at the beginning when we first started this. You want to make sure your colors are clean. So I'm going to do the lighter color on the left-hand side of this blending two colors shape that's right here close to the color that I just did. I want to make sure that I protect my work. I'm going to put the paper towel there. I'm not going to drag it around. I'm just going to use it to protect it while I draw my outlines first. And I'm going to start my outline about a little over half of the distance from the left to the right at the top. I'm going to draw an outline right up to my pencil outline with that color. Turn my paper. Do the left-hand side of the shape. We've done this before now, twice. Rotate my paper. And I'm going a little bit halfway over again from the left side to the right side. Upside down though, it would be from the middle to the right side, right? So it's right underneath where I did it on the top of the shape. All right, so I've got my outline about half, a little more than half of the distance from here to here, where the big shape ends. So it's not quite 2/3 of the way over, but it's over half of the distance. Now I'm going to take my color, and I'm just going to put in another edge here. It doesn't matter whether it's perfect or not, because I'm going to put a second color in next to it and blend the two colors together, right? So now, before I put the second color down, I'm going to cover this rectangle that's about the same size as the previous two rectangles. Same way as I did before, I'm going slow when I'm near the top, and don't get too near the edges at the side. Take a little time when I get close to the bottom. So you're using the techniques that you've used previously to create this new rectangle with a lighter color. I didn't mention this, but anytime you want to blend two colors, you should always use the lighter color first and then the darker color. If you can't tell the difference when you're choosing them, then it probably doesn't make a difference, right? Maybe they're really close to the same darkness. So that's okay. All right, so I've got several shavings here that I could pick up and move over to that big area to blend it in, so I don't just waste it. It's not a lot, but you know, anytime you've got a lot of work to do, the less you waste, the more you'll have for later. I take my time when I get next close to my outline so I don't go outside of it by accident. That's why I drew it in the first place. Why I drew it first in the first place. so I would know where to start and where to stop. All right, so there's my my orange outline. I'm going to pick up that little piece there. I'm not going to clean my pastel stick off, but I'm going to put it back on the tray like that, so it's just kind of hanging there ready for me to pick back up. Like I said, I'm going to use my green for my darker color now. I've already got some good hard edges to it, but let's just say I didn't. Okay, here's another technique for making a nice angle. I could make a wedge instead of having a 90-degree angle between the blend end and the side edge like that. I could make a wedge at the top coming from the two side edges like that. Okay, so I'm going to make a wedge on my paper towel by dragging it a couple times, 4 or 5 maybe, rotating it 180 degrees, and then doing it again from the opposite side. And it comes to a point where the two sides come together. It's flat along the two edges, but it's at a point where they turn into each other, right? So that's another way to do it if you want to have a really fine point from a wedge. Oops, somehow a little bit of orange got on that green. There we go. All right. Get my clean sheet so I can protect my work. Okay, so I'm outlining the other side of the shape now, okay, where it doesn't have orange yet. I'm putting my darker color. In this case, it's green. You choose your colors. Choose colors that you like. It can be the same ones that I did, or it can be completely different. Now, when I get to my orange, I stop with a little bit of a white area between the orange and the green, okay, or the first color and the second color. You don't want to get them too close to each other that they start mixing. We don't want to contaminate our second color yet by picking up the first color. Because we know we're going to fill in that area with this same color that we're outlining. It doesn't matter whether it's a thin outline or a thick outline, but make it a hard edge, nice, clean, and straight on the outer part of that line. Okay, so it's clean on this side, but kind of rough on this side. And that's okay because we're going to put more on the inside of it where it's a little rougher. Remember, don't press hard. Pressing hard only smashes it down and spreads it out. Got a little bit of some shavings on the outer edge. I'm going to pick them up. Remember, just tap on them. Don't press down. When you tap on them, move these out of the way. There we go. I'm going to try to speed this up a little bit here. I hope you're working along with me, but remember, if you need more time, you can always stop the video and then catch up with me. Okay, so I'm filling in my shape. I'm being very careful to stay inside of my outlines and not getting close to my first color yet. Taking a little bit of caution, right? Turn your paper, don't press hard. Turn your paper when you can't see where your pastel is going, so you can see where it's going. Go slower when you get close to the outer edges and close to your first color. Okay, so I've got a little white edge that separates the orange from the green, right? I'm going to clean off all the shavings that are on my pastel stick so that they don't interfere with what I'm going to do next. Actually, it wouldn't have been a big interference with this first one. All right. I'm just protecting my previous two. So now I'm going to take the green and go closer to the orange, and if I contaminate my green with the orange, I want to make sure I don't go back into the green area. I just want to stay right next to the orange, and I'm going right up next to it because I'm going to blend the two colors together, right? It doesn't matter if they touch now, as long as I don't go back to the right-hand side. Okay, so they're touching, they're kissing. Now I'm going to make them embrace. I'm taking my green over my orange, going on top of the orange with the green. I'm not pressing hard, I'm just dragging it right across the surface. And what's happening is they're blending together. They're creating a third color where they come together. I'm going to take a little bit of the orange and go back toward the right-hand side where the green is and soften it up so it's a gradual change into the green from this new color. And I'm going to go a little bit more into the orange very lightly with the green. Now you might think, well, that's beautiful, that's great, but it's not really all that pretty, honestly. The blending isn't very evenly done. It's kind of messy. So I'm going to clean off my shavings. I'm going to put down my green, and I'm going to pick up my orange that I started that shape with, right? And I'm going to soften it up where the orange meets with the green, dragging the orange on top of it and dragging the green into the orange area a little bit. And then I'm going to go side to side and soften it up that way. I want to clean off a little bit of this green that's there so I don't just keep adding more of it to it. I want it to blend in. Okay, going side to side, or in this case up and down, right? Because this is the top and this is the bottom. That little bit is going to blend them in a little bit more softly and make a gradual change to this kind of neutral gray-brown color that the orange and the green are making. And I'm going to go on top of the green a little bit. Oops, there was a little schmutzy area, a little bit of the shavings. Kind of overdid it. And I'm going to bring the green back on top of this area again too. Okay. So I just kind of drag them around, soften it up. I'm not pressing hard at all. If you press hard, it's just going to smudge and smear, and it's going to drag it, lift it up. It's going to do all sorts of things that you don't want it to do. I cleaned it off. Now I'm going to kind of soften this up here. I'm just kind of dragging it around so that where they met up, it's an even softer blend from the orange to the green. So anytime where it's a little heavy or it looks a little bit too hard-edged, clean off your pastel, then blend it a little bit more, and that softens it up. Go side to side, up and down, diagonal, whatever helps to kind of blend those colors in. Pick up any shavings and clean them off, all right? So like I said, the green needs to be done again, so I'm going to pick up the green, make sure that there isn't any orange on it, and I'm going to smooth that in, blending it in. So it's a more gradual transition from that neutral color back to the green again. And where it's a neutral color, it's kind of dark, right? Because the two colors make that neutral gray-brown. It's a bit of a darker area. Okay, so remember to go all different directions so it's a gradual change and it doesn't look too linear, too much like lines. Soften it up. Okay, and that's pretty good. I could go on a little bit longer and continue it, but I think you've got the idea. It's a gradual change from orange to green going across there. So let's talk about our third one. Our fourth one. I'm going to pick up that little extra bit of shavings that happened there. For the fourth one, we're going to overlay two colors. We're going to put two colors together again, but we're going to create not a gradual change from one to the other, but a hard edge that separates one from the other. So any two colors, you always once again want to start with a light color. You could use yellow. Let's look at some of these colors. You could use the yellow, the pink, the light green, the dark, this kind of fleshy pink color. You could use any of those as your lighter color. And then you're going to use a darker color. You could use the purple, the darker green, the blue, the brown, the black, the red, right? So your choice of the second darker color. While I'm holding this orange, I want to soften this up a little bit right there and right there. That's the problem with being a perfectionist, is you always see something that could be a little bit better, right? And it still needs some work to be better, right? But I want to move on. All right, so you're going to do the same thing inside of this whole shape from, I'll hold this closer, from the left-hand side here all the way past this line to this second line. So this is going to become one big rectangle of your lighter color. Go from this edge all the way to here, 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 fill it in with your lighter color, okay? I'm going to go ahead and use the orange for this one on this time, and you can watch, I'm going right over it. Here's the reason why you want to use the lighter color. We want to still be able to see that pencil outline, and we can do that if it's a lighter color, all right? And anytime that you're putting two colors together, you should always use your lighter color first anyway. It's easier to control and easier to disguise an accident if you use your light color first and your dark color second. Okay, so I want to get this down the same way that I've done previously. I'm going to go a little faster than I've been doing, just because I want to give you the chance to do your work too. I'm just kind of cleaning off my edges. I'm covering over my previous work so I don't damage it. Paper towels are really important. Okay, so I'll come back to that. I know I didn't follow my steps like I've been teaching you how to do, because I was just trying to go fast, and it wasn't really helping that I was just kind of putting it down. All right, so I've gone to my second line over, right? Okay. Take your time to draw nice, clean, hard edges for your outlines. I went a little faster than I should, and I created a little bit of a messy edge. It's not a hard edge, it's not clean. And part of it's because I haven't taken the time to get my flat edge that helps me keep that. Okay, so remember, you can make a wedge or you can flatten it out so it's a blunt end. But once it's down, there's nothing you can do to change it. Oil pastel stains the paper, and it's always going to show. Next step, fill in your shape. If your paper starts dragging into your pastel, the paper wrapper, take a little bit off, right? Mine's starting to do just what I was talking about. So take a little bit of that paper wrapper off, but leave most of it to protect your fingers from getting all all dirty. Okay, so I've got more edge to work with because of that. Don't press hard. Go side to side, slowing down when you get close to the side edges. Go faster when you're in the middle, but don't press any harder. And then turn it so that you can fill it in, and so you can go closer to the edges by seeing them. Turning my paper helped me to see this direction. Okay, so I can go a little faster than I was when it was going side to side, and I have a little more control because of that. Okay, so there's my first color. It's my lighter color. Okay, I'm going to clean off the extra stuff, and I'm going to put my pastel stick back up there, and I'm going to use the red. The red's a darker color. I'm going to make sure it's nice and clean. Red and orange, when they come together, they make a second color too, like the orange and the green did, but they're related. Orange and yellow make, I'm sorry, red and yellow make orange, so it's already related to the orange, but it's still darker than the orange, okay? Because yellow is the lighter, it lightens up the red when it combines with it to make the orange. So I want to do the same process. I'm going to outline first, fill it in, and I'm stopping at the orange. I'm stopping before I get to the orange, actually, with little white outlines separating them. Doesn't have to be hard edge, but it does on the outer edges. We'll make it a hard edge after with the colors filled in a little bit here. There we go. And if you want to speed it up or stop your video at any time, you're welcome to, right? You've got control of the video. Just make sure you don't skip a step. Now I kind of went out of my shape there because I was talking and not paying attention to what I was doing. And what I needed to do was clean up my edge so I had a straight edge to my pastel, so I could create a straight edge on my shape. So take the time to use the steps that we've already learned to develop this. This is already getting to be a long video, and I don't like making long videos. They take longer to download, and because of that, it occupies my devices. Okay, I've got my outlines in place pretty much. I'll clean up the little shavings afterward. But remember, you go a little slow, filling in the space, especially when you get close to the outer edges. You want to slow down, and when you get closer to your original color, the lighter color, slow down. Don't press hard. Turn your paper so you can go the same direction to fill it in so you can see what you're doing. And always slow down when you get close to the outer edge, right? That's when most of my students go, ah! It's because they're going too fast when they get close to where they want it to be a clean edge, right? So you just take your time and pay attention. Hopefully at home there are fewer distractions than there would be in the classroom with 25 to 30 other students in the room talking and wanting to entertain you and be entertained. Hopefully. All right, so I've got my color pretty evenly applied inside my rectangle. I'm cleaning off the little schmutzy stuff so that I can control it when I get next to the orange, because I don't yet want the orange to be overlaid by the red. I want the red to stay nice and clean. I don't want to contaminate it where the red and the orange meet up here. It's not like our first one. We're not overlaying them yet, and we're not blending. We're overlaying on this one. Nice hard edge, right up against the orange. One pull, rotate my pastel if I need to fill in a color, a corner, so that if it does have the first color, the orange in this case, in it, I rotated it so it's on the upper edge rather than the application edge of the pastel. All right, so I'm smoothing it down again because there's some shavings. All right, just kind of mixing them into the pastel or clean them off, whichever way works. Here's our next step. This is the overlaying. Remember, we're overlaying colors here. So we're going to put the red now in this case. Remember, your choice of colors, a light color and a dark color. The dark color is now going over the light color. I'm going to pick up that little piece of orange right there. Go. Okay, so I'm putting the red right on top. I'm going to, without pressure, without pushing down too much, I'm putting the red right on top of the orange, and it's creating a third color because I can still see the orange. Okay, they're kind of blending, yes, but it's not a gradual blend. It's an overlaid color. The orange has stained the paper underneath it now too, so it's going to be kind of an orange stain that the red will not be able to change because the orange already took it. It's already stained it. So the red's just staying on top of it, and it is mixing in a little bit as I do it. It's best if I outline it first, just like I did with my shapes, right? With the first color application. Just go right on top of it, don't press hard. And they're turning into that third color. It's the mixing. They're turning into a third color by putting one on top of the other. And they are physically mixing too, not just visually or optically mixing. That's that soft edge that I drew a little too fast when I got a little carried away, which is too bad. It's going to stay that way. There's no changing it, no eraser for oil pastels. Even if I found a piece of white pastel that was the same color as my white paper, it would still show through the white pastel. There are no erasers. So you have to control it from the beginning. All right, so without without pressing too hard, I'm not blending them in that much. I'm trying to put the first color on top of the second color. Okay, so that gives you three separate colors, right? With a hard edge that separates each color. Instead of a gradual change, it's a hard edge. Hard edge means it's clean and a distinct separation between one area to another. All right? So when you're done with the second color, yes, you could go back in with the first color and lighten it back up if you wanted to. Right, so I could come back in with my orange and I could lighten it back up toward, a lighter version of that what in this case is a red orange. All right, so let me show you the last step. The last step is called Sgraffito. Sgraffito means to scratch away. All right, so I gave you a wooden stick. I gave you a wooden stick when you went to the office to pick up your materials. I don't have mine right here, but you can also use other tools. Oh, here's my stick. Nope, that's not it either. You can use another tool, like I've got a paper clip that I've unbent, right? And we're going to use it or the wooden stick or both. You can try both. I'm going to drag this through the first color and scratch away, Sgraffito, scratch. Going to scratch away a design, a pattern. I want you to think about the doodle project, right? I don't want you to just scratch and go, oh, that's cool, and then walk away. I want you to create a pattern that repeats. So I'm drawing a line and a line and a line, right? I'm scratching away the upper layer and revealing the lower layer in doing it. I can use a thicker tip or a thinner tip, or I can put them right next to each other to make it thicker too. Oops, there we go. So this is Sgraffito, where you scratch away the upper layer to reveal the lower layer. And I want you to take your time to create a pattern, okay? So your choice. I want you to use it from the top of the shape to the bottom of the shape. And it doesn't have to be one mark that you make. It can be, you do some lines, you can do some shapes, you can you can cross over your shapes, but I want you to control it. Here's the nice thing. If you don't like it, you can always take your darker color and go over it, color it back in, and then scratch away a second time to create a cleaner pattern. So let's just say I wanted to make this a big, broad area, right? I'm being careful not to scratch away the orange too much, but it's going to reveal it as a lighter version of orange no matter what, because it doesn't have as much pastel on it anymore when I scratch it away. It was already kind of a messy little shape anyway, so by doing that, I reveal more surface area, and that's Sgraffito, okay? So I could repeat that. I could do a bold line and a red line, a bold line, a red line. I could do some shapes like this little circle, repeat it over and over again, creating a pattern that repeats that way. All right, so practice some Sgraffito. Create something visually interesting with pattern in that center area only. Don't do it here or here, do it right in the center. You're practicing the scratching technique, Sgraffito. When you're all done, my suggestion is take a piece of the extra sketchbook paper, put it on top of it to protect it while you're not working on it or before you take a photo of it to turn it in. Okay, that's it.